Hi everyone! Welcome to Tangerine Planet, a place for kind thoughts, smart ideas, and a little sunshine for the world. Let's make a difference, one step at a time, together.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving deep today into something that feels, well, incredibly simple, almost intuitive, doesn't it?
It really does.
But there's this growing body of research confirming it has really profound impacts on our health, especially our cognitive health and, how well we age. We're talking about getting your hands dirty. We're talking about gardening.
Double gardening, yeah.
The source material for this deep dive is actually a single, really comprehensive article. It does a remarkable job pulling together different research findings, real-world examples.
It paints a very vivid picture.
Exactly. It shows how powerful this seemingly humble activity can be. So our mission today is to really dig deep into the key insights from that article, pull out the specific facts, the surprising findings.
Those compelling stories, too.
Right. The stories that show us exactly how putting on some gloves, feeling the soil, tending to plants, how that might actually be a potent tool for keeping your mind sharp.
And maybe even reducing risk for things like dementia.
Yeah, potentially reducing risk for serious conditions like dementia and ultimately, helping you live better for longer.
And what's just fascinating here, picking up on that, is finding these huge health benefits rooted in something so, fundamental, so everyday, working with the earth.
Totally.
It's a powerful reminder, I think. Sometimes the most impactful things for our health and well-being aren't, complex medical technologies.
Right, not always the cutting-edge stuff.
No, but maybe reconnecting with activities that are just deeply embedded in human history, our natural environment. And this article really gets into the scientific basis for that connection. It takes it beyond just feeling good,
Absolutely. It moves it into evidence. And the article starts by setting a scene that's, increasingly familiar, isn't it? Especially as populations age.
The challenge of cognitive decline.
Exactly. As we get older, our mental faculties can shift naturally. And conditions like dementia are significant concerns for individuals, families, healthcare systems.
It affects everyone.
And a major factor that often contributes to maybe accelerated decline, especially after retirement or a big life change or a diagnosis, is isolation.
That loss of routine.
Yeah, when work or that long-standing routine ends, people can lose those crucial daily sources of stimulation, structure, social connection, the things that kept their minds active and engaged.
It leaves a real gap.
The article introduces us to a woman named Marianne Rogstad. Her story really brings this challenge into sharp focus. Marianne lived a life just rich with mental stimulation. A lifelong learner, spent 5 decades working as a hotel clerk in Switzerland.
5 decades, wow.
Can you imagine? 50 years immersed in international guests, languages, different cultures, constantly interacting, problem solving.
That's incredible cognitive engagement.
Well, 50 years. But when she returned to Norway later in life and was diagnosed with dementia, she, like so many others, became isolated. She lost access to those vital, consistent sources of stimulation, the structured work, the interaction, the learning that had been such a huge part of her identity, her daily life.
That's the specific problem these new approaches are trying to tackle, isn't it? The non-drug approaches.
Exactly. And this sets the stage for the concept the article introduces next, something gaining real traction. Care farms.
Care farms, yeah.
It specifically highlights Impulse Center, a small care farm just outside Oslo, Norway. And the name itself, Impulse Center, is quite telling, actually.
How so?
Well, the article explains it's named for how it aims to serve people's fundamental impulses. That deep human drive to work, to contribute, be active.
And to connect, crucially.
Right, connect with others. It's designed not just as a place to passively pass time, but as an environment built around purposeful, engaging activity, centered on farming and gardening.
That's a critical distinction. Yeah. Purposeful engagement, not just busy work.
Cool.
And the backstory of Impulse Center is told by Henriette Bringsvoord, who co-manages it. It provides wonderful context. Her parents founded the farm.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And their motivation came from a really personal understanding of this problem. They themselves loved farm work. It was their life.
Okay.
And they saw firsthand the profound difficulty faced by people with dementia, especially those who'd been active, maybe worked on farms, when they had to stop.
It wasn't just the job itself, then?
No, not just the loss of income or title, It was the loss of daily structure, that sense of purpose, the physical activity, and often the social life tied to their work.
That makes sense.
So the driving goal for Henriette's parents was basically to create a place where people facing dementia could, in their words, become a part of life again.
Become a part of life again. I like that.
Yeah, restoring some of that lost dignity, purpose, that vital social connection through meaningful activity in a, familiar, calming environment.
And Norway itself has been pretty forward-thinking on this.
Oh, definitely. The article points out Norway was quite pioneering. Back in 2015, they were among the first globally to create a national dementia care plan that formally included government-offered daycare services.
Wow, okay.
These services fall under this umbrella term, inn på tunet. It translates literally as into the yard.
Into the yard.
And care farms are a prime example of this type of service. It shows this institutional recognition, government support for these nature-based, activity-focused interventions.
So it's not just a few passionate people doing good work, it's actually part of the system.
Exactly. It moves them beyond being like isolated projects.
Yeah.
It signals that engaging with the land, being active, being in a supportive environment, that's seen as a valid government-supported part of care.
And that institutional recognition is key, right? Because it's built on this growing foundation of evidence. It's not just a nice idea that feels good. Researchers are finding significant, measurable cognitive benefits.
Real data.
And this scientific backing is leading to gardening and nature activities being integrated into formal healthcare. Things like green prescriptions or socially prescribed activities in nature.
Right, where doctors are actually recommending time outdoors.
Yeah, literally prescribing gardening or nature walks as part of a treatment plan for various conditions, including mental health and cognitive function stuff.
It's a fascinating shift, isn't it? Taking a hobby and elevating it to an evidence-based medical intervention.
It really is. So that transition leads us perfectly to the core question this deep dive aims to tackle, drawing straight from the research in the article. What exactly does the science say? Why is gardening proving to be so uniquely good for the brain?
Maybe even better than other types of stimulation or activity.
Potentially, yeah. What's going on there?
And the scientific evidence the article presents is, genuinely compelling. It offers multiple layers of explanation.
Okay, so let's start with that University of Edinburgh study mentioned early on. The article highlights this one as particularly noteworthy. First of its kind, what was unique?
Right, the Edinburgh study took this remarkably long-term perspective, which is pretty rare in cognitive research, actually.
Okay.
Their goal was to see if there was a detectable link between the time people reported gardening over their lifetime and the changes in their intelligence levels over that same period.
Over their whole life. How did they measure that?
They used a very specific data set. They compared intelligence test scores collected from participants when they were just 11 years old.
Wow, 11.
With scores from the same participants taken much, much later, at age 79.
79? That's nearly 70 years later.
Exactly. Think about the span of time covered. Nearly 70 years of potential cognitive trajectory being studied.
You got an incredible longitudinal data set. So tracking these folks, asking about habits like gardening, what was the crucial finding?
Well, the results, as the article highlights, were pretty revealing, strongly supportive of gardening's impact. They found that participants who reported regularly spending time gardening
Throughout their lives.
throughout their lives showed a statistically significant greater lifetime improvement in their cognitive ability compared to those who never or rarely gardened.
Wait, not just slowing decline, but improvement.
Yes, greater lifetime improvement, enhancement or growth in cognitive function over decades linked to consistent gardening. That's a really powerful correlation.
Greater lifetime improvement from gardening. That statistic alone is quite striking. And the lead researcher, Janie Corley, she offers an explanation for why this might happen, beyond just, being active.
Exactly. Corley's explanation, as presented in the article, really digs into the nature of gardening itself. She points out it's far from simple or mindless.
Right.
It inherently involves, and this is her phrase, complex cognitive processes such as memory and executive function.
Okay, like what specifically?
Well, think about it. You need to plan your garden, right?
Yeah.
What to plant where based on sun, soil.
Yeah.
You have to remember watering schedules, feeding, harvesting times.
Yeah.
You're constantly learning new plants, dealing with pests, soil composition. You're organizing tasks, prioritizing, troubleshooting when things go wrong. Like a plant isn't doing well.
Yeah, something's always eating something else.
Exactly. All of this demands active mental engagement, planning, problem solving, learning, memory recall, flexible thinking. It's cognitively demanding in this really varied, adaptable way, like running a small, ever-changing project.
That makes sense.
And this leads directly into that well-established framework Corley mentions, the use it or lose it cognitive framework.
Ah, right. Use it or lose it.
The theory basically says that our mental abilities, especially as we get older, really depend on how often and how robustly we keep using them.
Makes intuitive sense.
Yeah, the idea is if we stop doing things that require significant cognitive effort tasks, challenging memory, problem solving, learning, creativity, executive functions, then the neural pathways supporting those abilities can weaken.
They atrophy, basically.
Kind of. But conversely, if we regularly engage in activities demanding this mental heavy lifting, we help maintain, maybe even enhance, cognitive function over time.
And gardening fits that bill perfectly.
It seems to be a prime example. That mix of physical activity, learning, planning, problem solving. It challenges a wide range of cognitive skills, supports the use it or lose it principle really well.
Does the article mention other studies backing this up, this idea of cognitive stimulation being protective?
It does. It provides further evidence supporting the framework. It mentions that well-known 2002 study of over 800 nuns in the U.S.
Oh, the nun study, right. I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, it was significant. It found a strong correlation. Nuns who frequently participated in cognitively stimulating activities throughout their lives, reading, writing, complex puzzles, active learning, had a demonstrably reduced risk of developing Alzheimer's disease.
So it's not just gardening, but gardening is a really good package deal for these kinds of activities.
Precisely. And the article also cites a more recent study from Japan reinforcing this. It found older adults active in meaningful activities, things giving a sense of purpose or satisfaction, were better protected against memory decline.
Meaningful activities. That's interesting, too.
And importantly, it points to other research showing that structured interventions with cognitively stimulating activities, especially in a social setting.
Ah, the social piece again.
Yes. Those showed measurable improvements in cognition, mood, communication, social interaction. And this is where gardening often shines, right? It naturally combines the physical, the mental challenges, being outdoors, and frequently that social component.
Community gardens, care farms.
Exactly. Or just chatting with neighbors. It's kind of an all-in-one activity targeting multiple pathways to well-being.
Okay, so beyond these frameworks and studies on general stimulation, the article gets even more specific. It talks about particular biological mechanisms in the brain that gardening seems to enhance.
Right, physiological changes.
Or what are those?
Okay. The article highlights research suggesting gardeners tend to show increases in levels of two specific proteins, crucial for brain health. The first is BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor.
BDNF. That sounds important. What is it exactly?
It's a bit of a mouthful, but you can think of BDNF as like miracle grow for your brain cells.
Okay. Fertilizer for the brain. I like that.
It's a protein playing a vital role in the growth, survival, differentiation, maintenance of neurons, our brain's building blocks. Higher BDNF levels generally mean better cognitive performance, better learning, better protection against neurodegenerative diseases.
And gardening boosts this.
The research cited suggests gardening activities seem to stimulate the production and release of BDNF, giving your brain cells a boost of this essential protein.
Okay, so it helps cultivate brain cells, keeps them healthy.
Yeah.
What was the second protein?
The second one mentioned is VEGF, or vascular endothelial growth factor. As the name suggests, VEGF is mainly known for stimulating angiogenesis, the process of forming new blood vessels.
Ah, blood flow.
Exactly. In the brain, improved vascularity means better blood flow. And robust blood flow is critical. It ensures brain cells get a steady supply of oxygen, nutrients, and it helps clear out waste products.
Makes sense. Better plumbing for the brain.
Pretty much, better blood flow and connectivity link directly to improved cognitive function. So the suggestion is gardening helps boost both BDNF for the neurons and VEGF for the blood supply to those neurons. A powerful two-pronged biological pathway.
Wow. Okay, so we have the cognitive stimulation, the biological boosts. How does this translate into actual risk reduction for something like dementia? Is there data on that?
There is, and the article highlights a particularly impactful study from 2006, University of New South Wales in Australia.
Okay, what did they find?
They followed a large group, Australian men and women in their 60s, for 16 years. A long time.
16 years, yeah.
The key finding, and this is a statistic that really jumps out from the source, those participants who reported gardening on a daily basis
Really?
had a remarkable 36% lower risk of developing dementia over that follow-up period compared to non-gardeners.
Hold on, 36%.
36% lower risk.
Just from daily gardening.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's not a small marginal gain at all.
It really forces you to reevaluate how we categorize activities like gardening, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Elevates it from just a hobby to a potentially significant preventative health behavior. And alongside that powerful finding on dementia risk, the article lists other benefits linked to gardening too.
Like what?
Improved attention spans, reduced stress levels, a lowered risk of falls. Which is interesting because balance and coordination have cognitive implications too, right? Confidence, less fear.
True. And reduced falls mean fewer injuries, less potential decline from them.
Exactly. And even correlations with lowered reliance on certain medications.
Yeah.
So the positive ripple effects seem to extend quite broadly, multiple aspects of health and well-being.
So we've covered the active parts, the cognitive work, the BDNF, the VEGF, but the article also makes a really important point. Some benefits might come not just from the activity of gardening.
The digging and planting?
Yeah, but simply from the act of being in nature.
Yes, and this area of research owes a lot to pioneers like Roger Ulrich. The article identifies him as a world expert in health systems design, professor at Chalmers in Sweden.
Okay, Ulrich.
He was really one of the first to systematically show a strong, measurable link between nature exposure and tangible health outcomes, especially stress reduction. His work goes back to the 80s and 90s.
And his early stuff was striking because it showed benefits just from looking at nature,
Yeah.
not even doing anything.
Exactly, that's the famous part. The article details his landmark study showing hospital patients recovering from surgery if they had a window view of trees and plants.
Compared to a brick wall.
Right, compared to patients facing a brick wall. The ones with the nature view needed less pain medication, had fewer minor complications, reported more positive emotions, and were actually discharged sooner.
Just from the view.
Just from the view, powerful evidence that simply looking at natural scenes, even passively, significantly reduces stress and promotes healing. There's something inherent in natural environments that affects us positively.
Why might that be? Did he have a theory?
He did. Ulrich proposed it might have an evolutionary basis. Think about our ancestors recovering quickly from stress, like being threatened, was essential for survival.
Makes sense.
And recovering in natural settings, which offered food, water, shelter, relative safety, would have been highly advantageous compared to, say, exposed, barren landscapes.
Okay.
He suggested our modern brains and bodies might still carry this predisposition, this innate tendency to find calm and restoration in nature because it was genetically favorable, passed down over millennia.
So even small doses help modern humans, even with our different stressors.
That's the idea. It could explain why even seemingly minor nature exposure has measurable positive effects.
The article brings in Melissa Lem here too, right? A physician and researcher in Vancouver.
Yes, and she supports that evolutionary viewpoint. She adds that maybe part of it is how our brains are naturally drawn to high biodiversity settings environments rich in different plants, animals.
Because those were historically the best places to survive.
Exactly. Resource-rich, optimal environments. And she makes a really interesting point about accessibility. She's quoted saying, "The effects of nature are so powerful that breaking it down into its components, whether it's looking at images of nature, listening to the sounds of nature, or smelling nature, can also significantly improve our health."
So you don't need a whole forest.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
Even bringing plants indoors, listening to nature sounds, looking at nature photos can offer measurable benefits. She actually piloted a nature prescription program prescribing engagement with nature-themed art in Canada.
Wow. Prescribing art based on nature. That's thinking broadly.
It really is. Shows
Okay.
how wide the concept of nature exposure can be.
That idea of breaking nature down is insightful, just sights or sounds alone. And she also links being in nature to improving focus, something called attention restoration theory.
Yes, attention restoration theory, or RT. Another crucial framework the article uses to explain nature's impact on cognitive function, particularly our focus.
Okay, what's the premise of RT?
The central idea is that our brains have a finite capacity for directed attention. That's the effortful focus we need for complex tasks, concentrating on work, studying, navigating a busy city street, resisting distractions.
Okay, the hard concentration kind of attention.
Exactly. And constantly being in environments demanding that kind of effortful focus. A noisy office, chaotic traffic can deplete this mental resource, leads to directed attention fatigue.
I think we've all felt that. Difficulty concentrating, irritability.
Absolutely. That's the fatigue. And according to RT, nature provides the perfect antidote.
How?
Natural environments engage our brains through what's called soft fascination, unlike the hard fascination of, say, a flickering screen or a siren, which grabs attention intensely.
Demands processing.
Right. Nature captures our attention gently, effortlessly. Think about watching leaves rustle, water move, the patterns on a flower.
It's engaging but not draining.
Exactly. Subtly engaging doesn't require directed effort. This soft fascination allows our directed attention capacity, the part that gets fatigued, to rest and recover.
So it recharges that mental battery?
Precisely. Spending time in nature, even briefly, lets our directed attention replenish, restores our ability to focus, concentrate, problem solve, and reduces that mental fatigue and irritability. It's active restoration of a key cognitive resource.
That makes so much sense. A specific mechanism for how nature actively recharges our ability for effortful thought. Okay, so we've got the cognitive benefits, the use it or lose it, BDNF, VEGF, reduced dementia risk, attention restoration, stress reduction. But the article also stresses that gardening is holistic, right? Benefits the whole person.
Definitely. And Melissa Lem, the physician, underscores this. She notes gardening is powerful partly because it naturally encourages other health-promoting behaviors, especially physical activity.
Right, it's not sitting on the couch.
Not at all. You might not get an intense cardio workout like running, but it's undeniably physical. Digging, bending, kneeling, lifting soil bags, reaching, carrying tools, pushing wheelbarrows.
It adds up.
It really does. And the article highlights specific studies measuring the impact of this physical side on broader health.
How do they find?
It points to two distinct U.S. studies. One revealed a pretty astonishing statistic. Adults gardening for more than 1 hour per week had a significantly lower risk of cardiac arrest.
How much lower?
A striking 66% lower risk compared to non-gardeners.
Hold on, 66%.
66.
Lower risk of cardiac arrest from just an hour of gardening a week. That's huge. That's another wow statistic.
It absolutely is. Shows how even moderate, consistent physical activity, the kind you get gardening, can have profound preventative effects on cardiovascular health.
Amazing. What was the other study?
The second one focused on bone health. It found gardening was a strong and independent predictor of positive bone density.
Also very important, especially as we age. Osteoporosis, fractures.
Crucial for preventing those. And the article also details other specific physical improvements from gardening.
Like?
Greater hand dexterity, fine motor skills important for independence, building and maintaining muscle mass good for metabolism, strength, mobility. The effort contributes to aerobic endurance, hardened lungs, and overall promotes increased mobility and flexibility.
Keeps everything working. And connecting back, this physical activity is often outdoors, fresh air, sunlight.
Vitamin D.
Right. And frequently it involves that social component again. Melissa Lem, the Care Farm model, they really highlight social connection.
Exactly. While solo gardening is great, many forms are inherently social. Community gardens, for instance.
Sharing space, knowledge, work.
Or just chatting with neighbors. And structured programs like Care Farms are built around communal activity. The article notes research consistently shows the positive effects of stimulating activities are often amplified in a social setting.
Mood, communication, cognition.
All seem to benefit more. So gardening provides this powerful synergy: physical, mental, nature exposure, and vital social connection, all in one activity.
Okay, let's bring the focus back specifically to that group we mentioned at the start, people already diagnosed with dementia. The article says for this group, these benefits hold extra value. Why is that?
Well, the source suggests that while the benefits are widespread for individuals living with dementia, research indicates programs combining physical activity, mental stimulation, social interaction, and nature, like care farms or therapeutic gardening.
The whole package.
Yes. These can lead to more pronounced improvements in mood, reductions in challenging behaviors, better communication, and improved daily function compared to other interventions. There seems to be a particular resonance and effectiveness for this specific population.
And we're seeing that reflected in the growth of specialized programs, dedicated care farms for dementia.
Precisely. Building on that Norwegian model, now appearing elsewhere in Europe, the UK, places like Impulse Center offer benefits really well suited to dementia challenges. Henriette Brings-Jord's observations from the farm, shared in the article, are really insightful.
What does she see?
She talks compellingly about the renewed sense of agency and independence residents gain. They're actively involved, planting, caring for animals, harvesting. They love seeing tangible results.
A seed sprouting, an egg.
Exactly. That sense of contribution, being useful, having an impact. It's incredibly valuable for dignity and self-worth, which can erode with dementia.
That makes total sense. What about the memory aspect? How does it help there?
She makes a very practical point.
Yeah.
Because gardening and farm work often involve groups working together, it helps those struggling with memory. If someone can't recall the steps for a task,
Like planting a seedling.
yeah, or feeding the cows,
Yeah.
they can often just watch what others in the group are doing.
Visual cues.
Exactly. Seeing others perform the action provides a visual cue that helps them recall the steps and participate successfully. It's a kind of embodied learning, supported memory, naturally built into the environment and the activity.
That's such a simple yet profound insight. The group setting itself becomes a support.
It absolutely is. And beyond all the specific mechanisms, Rords emphasizes something maybe even more fundamental: the importance of just being in a positive, supportive environment, filled with life, people, and plants.
The atmosphere matters.
Deeply. She shares a story illustrating the subjective benefit, even when memory is impaired. Residents go home visibly happier. Their scouts might ask, "What did you do today?"
And they might not remember the details.
Right, they might struggle to recall the specifics, the planting, feeding, weeding. But as Ringsorder notes, they know, deep down, they had a good day, they felt happy, engaged, connected.
That effective memory persists.
Exactly. Which brings us back full circle to Marianne Rogstad. The article notes she spends 3 days a week at Impulse Center now, actively participating, planting, feeding cows, tending chickens.
And she appreciates it.
Yes, she speaks to the power of the environment, the activity, appreciates the simplicity, the connection to nature. She says, "It's nice to be out here in nature. It's much better than sitting at home."
It's much better than sitting at home. That simple phrase just captures so much, doesn't it?
It really does.
It connects that personal feeling of isolation back to the research showing all these benefits: purposeful engagement, nature, social connection. Even if the specific memories fade, the feeling
of well-being.
the memory of feeling good, purposeful, connected to life and nature that clearly persists and contributes significantly to quality of life, regardless of cognitive state. It underscores that the goal isn't just preserving cognition, but enhancing the quality of the life being lived.
Profoundly enhancing it.
Okay, let's start to wrap up this deep dive then. What we've seen from the source material is this powerful, evidence-backed case for gardening and nature engagement being way more than just a pleasant hobby.
Much more.
It's a robust, multifaceted intervention. Research shows it directly impacts cognitive function, use it or lose it, BDNF, VEGF boosts. It has significant positive physical health effects, dramatically lower cardiac arrest risk, better bone density, mobility,
Fosters crucial social connection.
vital for mental and cognitive well-being, and enhances overall quality of life, subjective well-being, with particular, maybe amplified benefits for those facing cognitive decline. It's essentially an activity that simultaneously exercises the brain, nurtures the body, and connects us with nature and others in this really fundamental, evolutionarily resonant way.
And what's fascinating, returning to our initial point, are the implications. It strongly suggests some of the most effective, accessible, maybe most human paths to health, resilience, better quality of life as we age.
I might not be exclusively in complex drugs or high-tech interventions.
Maybe not exclusively. Maybe they're rooted in reconnecting with simple, fundamental activities and environments, like working with the earth, being in nature, doing it alongside others. Activities our brains and bodies evolved with.
There's a kind of inherent wisdom in getting your hands dirty.
It seems that way. A deep wisdom in that simplicity.
So, given all this compelling evidence from the source material, how cultivating a garden can potentially cultivate a sharper mind, support a longer, happier life. What does this mean for you, listening right now? What small step could you take this week to connect with nature or gardening, maybe something we talked about? And what potential impact might that simple step have on your own cognitive garden? Something to ponder.
Thanks for being with us today. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and tap the bell to keep the good vibes going. Let's join into healing our little world one step at a time, together. And all this is Tangerine Planet. Until next time.